Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Guru Dev Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gaurkishadas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nityalala Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Gauriya Vedanta Chaya Baladevi Vibhushan Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Trai Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Gosai Pad Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadas Gunath Shard Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Surup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय. सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय. श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय. श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय. जय श्री Madhvacharya ki jai, jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirobhav Titi ki jai. Shri Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya ki jai. Jai uh, Shri Maṇi-mañjarī ki jai. Śrīman Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya ki jai. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Okay, let's just do short Mangala Charan and then we'll begin. Let me just share my screen. Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Tividito Gauriya Gurvanvaye Bhato Bhanuriva Prabhata Gagane Yogora Sankirtanai Maya Bharati Mingilo Darakatan Udritya Jivani Man Krishna Prema Sudabdi Gahana Sukhang Pradat Prabhung Tang Bhaje. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Let's do that. There's a pranam mantra for Madhvacharya. It's from the Pramaya Ratnavali 1-3. So, Anandatirtanama Sukha Maya Dhama Yatirjiyat Sangsararnavataraneng Yam Iha Jana Kirtayanti Buddha. All glories to the sannyasi Anandatirtha Madhvacharya, who is an abode of happiness. He is praised by the learned and intelligent. Anyways, as being the boat by which one can cross over the ocean of material existence. I think I have to work on that translation. Anyways, um, all right. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Srivas Prabhu, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantaramurti Mataji, Gokuleshwari Didi, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Ganga Mataji, Premavati Didi, Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji, and I don't know who else is there, but Dandavat Pranams. So today, on this very auspicious day of Sri Madhvacharya's disappearance day, Srivas translated a book, Maṇi-mañjarī, written by, who is it? Śrīman Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya. It's the history of Sri Madhvacharya's spiritual, what does it say? Forebears.
Forebears.
And their prosecution at the hands of the Shankarite extremists. Interesting. I actually don't know anything about Maṇi-mañjarī, so I'm just gonna hand it over to Shivas. But and Shivas, are you gonna be releasing this book today?
It's very close to being ready for that, but I found a commentary on the book by the author himself. And so now I want to add a bunch of footnotes because he clarifies various points. So I'm checking the Sanskrit and I'm adding more footnotes. So I think there's going to be a bit of a delay. But
it sounds like you're gonna have a busy day today.
yeah. But yeah, I'm glad to be able to at least talk about it and kind of like soft launch it here with you guys. Yeah.
And when you do launch it, will you be posting it on both of your websites?
Yes.
Or just
yes.
one? Okay, so the websites are, for anybody who hasn't subscribed already, it's bigdrumpublications.com, and the other is bigdrum.us. You can sign up to both of them, and then you'll get this book, Maṇi-mañjarī, when it comes out. I don't know anything about Maṇi-mañjarī, but I've always seen it. It's always been part of like all the small Bengali books in Devananda Gaudiya Math and also in our Math. It's always one of the books on the table. But I've always been curious to know about it, but I actually don't really know anything. So this is great.
Yeah, somebody's asking to write the URL in the chat.
Oh, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay, yeah, so Maṇi-mañjarī is written by, as Prabhuji said, Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya, who is the son of one Trivikram Paṇḍitācārya. And Trivikram Paṇḍitācārya was a disciple of Madhvacharya. He was initially a Advaita scholar, and very accomplished scholar. But he was right in the middle of the debates between Madhvacharya and various Shankarite scholars. At one point, there was one sannyasi, Shankarite sannyasi, Pundarik Puri, who was debating with Madhvacharya, and around the same time, Madhvacharya's books, all of his books got stolen. And then, so one king had to help Madhvacharya get his books back. And so there was obviously some dirty dealings, you know, dirty tactics going on to try and silence Madhvacharya. And then he was debating. Trivikramatacharya started having doubts about Advaitavad, but he also still had doubts about Shuddhadvaita, because these philosophies are contain very subtle points, and sometimes these philosophies can seem very similar in not Dvaita and Advaita, but at least things like Shuddha Advaita or Vishishta Advaita. So he was debating with Madhvacharya's disciples, and he established some very good points. He was a very good debater, but he left the argument still feeling conflicted. And then when Madhvacharya came to his city, then he went to see Madhvacharya, and in a humble mood, and talked to him. And then at another time he was there. Madhvacharya was giving a lecture, and he was there as part of like the Mayavadi delegation to debate with Madhvacharya. And Madhvacharya saw this person, he came to see me before and talked to me, and he was very sweet and humble. And so Madhvacharya, in that session, he very beautifully refuted the opposing doctrine, and produced some of his own writings. I guess he got his books back at that point, and then there's another beautiful pastime with this Trivikramacharya and Madhvacharya, where after he became Madhva's disciple, Madhvacharya would disappear during the morning hours in Udupi to worship his Gopal. And he would do so behind locked doors. None of his disciples, no one was allowed to see him, what he was doing. But Trivikramacharya just had this burning desire to see what Madhvacharya was doing all alone by himself. So he bore a hole in the wall of the temple in Udupi to look through. And what he saw astonished him. He saw Madhvacharya enter the temple room in the early morning and split into 3 different forms. He became Hanuman, became Bhim, and he was Madhva. And he was worshiping the deity of Gopal in 3 different forms, worshiping him as Ram, as Krishna, and then he was worshiping Vyas and Saraswati. So Trivikramacharya just lost it, and on the spot, because he was a very accomplished scholar of Sanskrit, he composed this Vayu Stuti, this 40-verse prayer to Vayu.
That's the one form that didn't appear, right? You said Bhima, Hanuman, and Madhvacharya, but then you wrote a stuti to Vayu, right?
No, because Vayu from Vayu, the son of Vayu is Hanuman, the son of Vayu is Bhima. So Vayu is the original
Okay.
deity. And the Madhvas refer to Madhvacharya as Mukhya Prana. He's and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks about this, that Madhvacharya is not just the Vayu Devata in this world, or of this world. He is the Chinmay Vayu. He is the Vayu who holds up the Vaikuntha planets. So the Mukhya Prana, he's like the main or the chief pranic force, even in Vaikuntha.
Wow.
And so, yeah, this weaves in beautifully with how, and this is discussed in Maṇi-mañjarī, and this is actually what I'm adding the footnotes about. There's some very esoteric, very beautiful things related to that, to who Madhvacharya is, how he has assisted Krishna throughout his incarnations in preserving the Vedic knowledge. and really like reviving and giving life to the devotees. And I guess we should talk about the name, because the name is really confusing. I've had countless devotees tell me that, yeah, I remember picking up that book. I thought it was something to do with the manjaris, because Maṇi-mañjarī. But the word money actually, surprisingly, refers to the anti-hero of this text. So in Bhagavatam, in the context of Daksha's sacrifice, when Sati is going to see her father, this money, a certain character is mentioned. His name is Maṇi-man, and he's a yaksha. He's a servant of Kubera. In the Mahabharata, he's a servant of Kubera, but the servants of Kubera are also disciples of Lord Shiva. So in Bhagavatam, he's mentioned as a disciple of Lord Shiva. He's mentioned as actually Lord Shiva's right-hand man. And he's the one who takes charge of taking Sati. So Lord Shiva has advised Sati not to go, but still Sati is going. So Maṇi-man, it's like Lord Shiva entrusts Maṇi-man with taking Sati to the sacrifice. Now he doesn't do a very good job, I guess, of protecting her. But I think this pastime evidences that he's a very close and dear disciple of Lord Shiva. Anyways, in Maṇi-mañjarī, he's depicted as a demon because at one point he made an offense to Agastya Rishi. And Agastya Rishi was also the one who cursed Taraka, who was also a yaksha. So Agastya Muni has had these run-ins with the yakshas and ends up cursing them to become full-on rakshasas. The yakshasas and rakshasas are related. They are like technically the same kind of creatures, or very closely related creatures. But the rakshasas are definitely much more seemingly inimical to Bhagavan. So he was cursed by Agastya Rishi to be killed at the hands of a mortal. And so in the Bharat, when the Pandavas were in Vanavas, in the forest, in exile, at one point they were near Kailash, they were near Mansarovar, and one day one very beautiful flower somehow floated through, or the fragrance came to Draupadi. And so she sent Bhima off on a quest to find the flower. And Bhima very readily, took up the task, wanting to please Draupadi all the time. And so when he went to found this lake, sacred to Lord Shiva, and he was going to, pick a whole bunch of flowers, Maṇi-man and his yakshas, they were guarding the lake, so they stopped him. And so Maṇi-man and Bhima get into this battle, and Bhima, of course, kills Maṇi-man. So the first two chapters of Maṇi-mañjarī talk about Ram Lila. They summarize Ram Lila. And then the next two chapters talk about Krishna Lila and summarize Krishna Lila. And then in the fifth chapter, it starts talking about how in the subtle realms, Maṇi-man has been killed. And so in Krishna has a Mahabharata war is over, Kali Yuga has started, and Shakuni, remember Shakuni from the Mahabharata, who was the gambling master, who is actually, so Shakuni is actually an incarnation of Dwapara Yuga itself. He's actually not a villainous personality. He is said to be equal parts good and evil, because Dwapara Yuga is situated kind of on this cusp between, goodness and evil. And he actually wanted the Kauravas to be destroyed. he had a grudge against the Kauravas, I think for their treatment of Gandhari. I need to double check what exactly his grudge was. So he actually, in instigating Duryodhana and influencing him against Yudhishthira, he was actually wanted the Kauravas to be annihilated. So, yeah. So Shakuni is there. So that's this story and this book is really a lot about anti-heroes, about people who look like villains, but who are not actually villains, who are only playing the role of villains. So it's a really intriguing book. And so Shakuni is there with Kali Maharaj, and he's advising Kali Maharaj to send Maṇi-mañjarī, because now it's very clear that the demons cannot, the asuras cannot conquer Krishna by force. They've tried. They've tried in all the avatars. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Nrsimha, Parshuram, Ram, Krishna, they can't do it. So they have to take a different approach. So, and the best way that he's like, the best way that you can really hurt Krishna and Bhima is by going after Draupadi. And Draupadi she is incarnation of Saraswati Devi, of Bharati, another name for Saraswati Devi. So if you corrupt the Vedic teachings, if you subvert the Vedic teachings, if you take Buddhism and dress it up as the Vedic teachings, then you will really, really kind of hobble Krishna and Bhima. And so the best person to do this is the very brilliant disciple of Lord Shiva, Maṇi-mañjarī. He's a brilliant scholar, and so he can do this. So they summon Maṇi-mañjarī, and Maṇi-mañjarī's terrified. He doesn't want to incarnate. He's terrified. He's just been killed by Bhima. The trauma is still very real for him. He doesn't want to go back. But they tell him, no, look, Bhima has left, and he can't come back without the order of Vishnu. And as far as we know, Vishnu has not given any order for him to come back and incarnate during this age. So you're in the clear. You're good. Just go. You're not going to get killed by Bhima, and you're going to have all our help. Just like, and when we hear about the demigods approaching Vishnu and the Milk Ocean and asking him to incarnate, and then Vishnu tells them oh, you must incarnate in the dynasties of Yadu, and so in the same way, when the demons are planning a move, they also incarnate, and they get all their relatives and associates to incarnate all over the place. And so they're telling him, like, look, we're already incarnating during Kali Yuga in mass numbers, in droves, all over the place. You're going to have lots of support. You're going to have lots of disciples. So just, don't worry. And so that's the kind of the premise, or the Maṇi-mañjarī is it's a prelude. The whole text is a prelude to Madhva Vijay, the biography of Madhva by the same author. So the official biography of Madhvacharya. And Param Gurudev makes the point that, he says, actually, maybe we should read that. So I'm just going to find the page for you. So it's in the preface, page 22. So Param Gurudev here, he's talking about the need to have like a well-rounded selection of sources in any subject, and especially with the life of Śrīman Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya. So Pankridev writes, Shankaracharya was the guardian of Mayavadism, the prime exponent and propagator of Vaidism. This is from Beyond Nirvana. The initiator of the modern form of monism and the crest jewel of the Mayavad lineage. Practically all educated, literate persons are familiar with the story of his birth, at least those in India. Many learned persons from the Shankar cult have effusively penned his eulogies in biographical works such as Shankar Vijay and Shankar Digvijay. Further information and incidences of his life are also available in the authoritative treatises of the Madhva cult, such as Madhva Vijay and Maṇi-mañjarī. Oh, I need to add a long I. I'm missing long I's everywhere. The Madhva cult and the Shankar cult are opposed to each other. To draw a composite picture of Sri Shankara's biography, it is therefore imperative to harvest facts from both these sources and their authorized media. So, because the story of Shankaracharya that's presented here in Maṇi-mañjarī is unflattering, to say the least. However, and so a lot of people have written this book off and suppressed it because it's kind of irreverent of Maṇi-mañjarī, or of Shankaracharya. But I think if you look closer, if you actually, you not even look that much closer, if you even just look at the story of Maṇi-mañ, and then you look at also Nārayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya, he's also quoted a verse from the Skanda Puran, which of course is a contested source. People are saying that we can't trust any reference from the Padma Puran or the Skanda Puran because they're so vast and they've been interpolated. But this was quoted in the 14th century when there were fewer interpolations. Even though I don't have a exact reference number, a chapter or verse number. But Nārayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya quotes a verse where he talks about Shankar being the Rudra Avesh, so the Avesh avatar of Rudra. So it proves that he was aware of this connection, this belief that we have in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. In the preface, I've also quoted from Param Gurudev, quoting from Jayavadharma, when Paramahansa Das Babaji Maharaj hears the name of Shankaracharya, he does pranam, and he says, Shankaracharya Shakshat Shankara. Shankaracharya is Lord Shankar himself. And Mahaprabhu always gave respect to Shankaracharya by addressing him as Acharya. And we understand that he was a necessary evil of sorts to rescue Indian thought and the Brahmanas from Buddhism, from overt Buddhism, and using covert Buddhism, bring them back to at least outwardly following the Vedas, even if they were missing or misrepresenting the actual teachings. And Lord Shiva, he is the one always tasked with these seemingly destructive, seemingly ugly or dirty tasks, like annihilating the universe. No one else can do that. No one else wants to do that. And he both can and does as a service. But it's interesting to see that he doesn't necessarily do this alone. He has angshas and disciples who assist him in this. And And it seems this is the mystery of the title of this book, why it's called Maṇi-mañjarī. And the word manjari is only used in one sense. There aren't, like, a lot of words in Sanskrit have many different usages and meanings. Manjari is very specific. It's a blossom or bud, and it's used as we use it in our tradition, to describe the manjari attendants, or also expansions of Radharani, who are selfless. They serve her completely, and they're willing to give up their lives for her, to please her. And so when you look at all this, it's you come to this kind of unavoidable conclusion that Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya, maybe he was fanning the flames of hostility for immature Vaishnavas, to protect their Shraddha, to protect them from Shankar philosophy. But if you have a little bit of intelligence and if you look closely at his writings, Madhvacharya never demonized Shankaracharya. He opposed his philosophy, never demonized him. So why would his grand disciple demonize him? Well, I think because there is, we were just in Vrindavan when Haripriya Prabhu was launching his book about Radha Rasa Sudhanidhi. And Srivatsa Goswami from Radharaman, he drew the comparison, because the debate was about authorship, whether Hitarivansh wrote Radha Rasa Sudhanidhi or Prabodhananda Saraswati did. So Srivatsa Goswami brought up a related, or a kind of parallel, of Shankaracharya. He says, it's very hard for us to believe that Shankaracharya could write Rasanandi Radha. What's this line?
From Jagannathashtakam.
I have it here in the preface here.
Oh.
Rasanandi Radha Sarasavapura Lingana Sukho. How could the same person who spent his life establishing Brahm as Nishaktik, as having no Shakti, being Nirvishesh, how can he write such a beautiful stotra as Jagannathashtakam, which has such beautiful lines as this? Rasanandi Radha Saraswati. He, Krishna, delights in the embrace of the charming form of Radha, who herself delights in rasa. It's like a very rasic line. So how can this Shankara, Adi Shankaracharya, how can he write this? And so yeah, this seems to be like a valid question. It seems out of character.
And also, did he ever write the name of Radha anywhere else?
Well, and so Srivatsa Goswami's view was that we cannot believe. I personally cannot believe. We cannot believe that Shankaracharya wrote Jagannathashtakam. It must have been written by Mahaprabhu or by Lord Shiva himself, not by Shankaracharya. So there's these kinds of debates and feelings within the Vaishnava community. In the text of Maṇi-mañjarī, Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya does something, I think because he's a poet and he's very intelligent, and poets are a little bit mischievous sometimes because they can get away with it. He does this thing where, so every authorized biography of Shankar, even from the Shankar side, talk about how Shankaracharya, he didn't know his father. His mother was a Brahmani, widow. And in the Shankar accounts, in the Mayavadi accounts, they talk about how there's no one version that they all agree on. It's all different. But usually it's something to do with his mother, either his father has left or died, and she goes to worship Lord Shiva, or or Shiva comes to her as a sadhu and fathers this child with her. So in Maṇi-mañjarī, Nārayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya kind of takes a heavier tone with this, saying he is Sankara, like Varna Sankara in Bhagavad Gita, where so Sankara means it's related to the word like kankara. Kankara means like pebbles and things like things that you sweep out of your house in the morning. You know, a bunch of rubbish of the hair and dirt and things and everything together, and you throw it out. So rubbish. You don't know. So this is a slur. This is a very derogatory slur towards somebody who doesn't know who their father is, who is of dubious parentage. And so all throughout the text, he's not referred to as Shankara with the matra above. He's referred to as Sankara, right? So that's why this book infuriates followers of Shankara or anybody who appreciates Shankaracharya and his writings, because it's like, how can they be so disgusting? How can they? Basically, they're making a pun out of his name and calling him a bastard throughout. However, Sankara doesn't just mean rubbish or sweepings or trash. It means a mixture. It means a medley. It means, so it can have a positive connotation as well. And so if you look at the whole picture, if you are a little bit impartial and you don't get up in arms on either side, because I think our Acharya showed us, to respect Shankaracharya as an incarnation of Lord Shiva. So if we follow them and we don't get caught in this Madhva tongue-in-cheek propaganda, Shankar, I think Nārayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya is just protecting juniors in his community, because there's a very fierce conflict between the Madhva and Shankar traditions in the South, has been for many centuries. And so he's protecting them, but he's leaving little clues for us to be a bit more mature and understand what he means and what's actually going on behind the scenes. And so yeah, that's for all these reasons, I think this text is a very fascinating, interesting text. So maybe we should.
I just have. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious. What's the history of how it was published, like recently? Like,
Right.
because I see it in all the Gaudiya. Well, I just see it around all the time in the temple, in the mats and stuff like that for sale. So
Yeah. So at the end of the preface, we can read this also. At the end of the preface, there's a short foreword from Sri Bhakti Vivek Bharati Goswami Maharaj, who was it's a very interesting character I'd like to know more about. He's pictures of him. He's massive, huge-bodied Vaishnava, and the Shiksha Guru of Sri Srimad Bhakti Shri Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj. So if you just go up, I think you went past it.
your intro ends. Oh yeah, there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So he was living in Dhaka. He was, I think, in charge of the mutt in Dhaka. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur named that mutt Madhva Gaudiya Mutt. And seems perhaps this inspired Sri Bhakti Vivek Bharati Maharaj to publish this book. So he gives some history of Pandit Vikramacharya, and I think kind of what I talked about earlier, how Trivikramacharya met Madhvacharya, and then how this Trivikramacharya is the father of Sri Nārāyaṇa. And so he talks about how Sri Nārayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya, Sri Madhva Vijay, and Sri Maṇi-mañjarī. So if you go down to distribution, starts with distribution. Yes. Distribution of Panditacharya Śrīman Nārāyaṇa's Śrīmadva Vijaya and Śrī Maṇi-mañjarī is practically non-existent in northern India, especially in Bengal. So he's saying, if you want to really become acquainted with the Madhva tradition, you need to read these two books. And they're intending to publish the Śrīmadva Vijaya, and it was published during the time of Srila Saraswati Thakur. But they published this first, the Maṇi-mañjarī. It's the prelude to Madhva Vijaya, and so this was published in 1926. And Srila Saraswati Thakur published several books of the Madhva Sampradaya. He published the Muktavi, and I think some other texts. And even Sundaram Vidyavinod even wrote an entire book called Vaishnavacharya Sri Madhva that was published at the time of Prabhupada. So there was this push, from started with Srila Bhakti Thakur and continued by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to really delve into the histories of the four Vaishnavacharyas and their teachings, and how their teachings, they were Madhva, Mahaprabhu kind of co-opted each of the other three sampradayas, or the four sampradayas. And, there's, I believe it's directly from Srila Saraswati Thakur, or at least from the Gaudiya, talking about how Mahaprabhu attracted two acharyas from the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Prabodhananda Saraswati, who were integral to our Sampradaya. Gopal Bhatta Goswami established Satguru Saradipika, Hari Bhakti Vilas, all the guidelines for our sanskars and deity worship and everything. Prabodhananda Saraswati gave us some of the most rasic literatures that we have. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami belong to the Madhva tradition already. They're from Karnataka Brahmins. He revived the through Keshava Kashmiri. There's evidence, and it's accepted by the Nimbarka Sampradaya to a certain extent, that he, at least by impartial scholars, that it was Mahaprabhu, it was the Gaudiya tradition that actually revived the Nimbarka tradition. It had gone underground before Mahaprabhu's time, and it was revived by him. And Mahaprabhu gave, utmost loyalty and dedication to the purports of Sridhar Swami from the Vishnu Sampradaya. So during the time of Srila Saraswati Thakur, there was, these books were published and talked about. There was in the Nadia Prakash issues I was translating, there was mention of one Shri Adamar Vittalacharya, who was a Madhva scholar, who was coming on Navadi Parikrama with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and speaking at the holy places, glorifying Mahaprabhu on Gaur Purnima Day in pure Sanskrit to the delight of all the devotees. So Srila Saraswati Thakur
didn't he
really
also join the whole? Didn't he join the Parikrama also and speak at the Parikrama places? Or
there's mention of Srila Bhakti Hridaya Maharaj, who was the star, getting up and speaking, and then either before him or after him, this Madhva scholar also speaking at the places and usually speaking in Sanskrit, because the Madhva scholars are they're just trained to speak in Sanskrit. So this is I think, and so I've seen, I think, carrying on that tradition. I haven't seen so many editions of Madhva Vijaya because it's a much larger text, but throughout the Gaudiya Maths, Chaitanya Gaudiya Math and our Devananda Gaudiya Math, I've seen this Maṇi-mañjarī reprinted. And so in what was it, 2000, whenever Gurudev split, 2003 or 4, when Gurudev left Devananda Gaudiya Math, Shripad Bhaktivedanta Govinda Maharaj. Okay, I guess this was in 2007. But so he also published this book under Gurudev's name, basically adapted this introduction or this foreword by Shri Bhakti Vivek Bharati Maharaj. It's like identical, and changed a few of the sentences towards the end. And I think he got Gurudev's permission also to publish this. So, because there weren't a lot of Bengali publications from our month at that time. And this was something, a small text, easily published. But it's also an important one. And it's a story. It's presented in a story format. It's kind of like a little novel. So it's easy to read. And as Srila Bhakti Vivek Bharati Maharaj describes towards the end of his foreword, there's some very powerful teachings kind of woven in throughout the text. The one that Sri Bhakti Vivek Bharati Maharaj mentions is about the abduction of Sita. And so that's actually very interesting. Maybe we can read a few of those verses. I'll just find them. Okay, so the very beginning of the second chapter, page 50. So Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya has introduced the Leela of Lord Ram, and they've just been sent into exile. And so he opens up with...
chapter 2, huh?
Yeah, chapter 2. I should put second chapter. Yes. So tato duram gate rame ravana saha lakshmani siteyam niyata iti matva ninyatarakritam. Then when Sri Ramchandra strayed from the ashram with Lakshmana, Ravan stole an akriti, or the Chayamurti form of Sita, taking it to be her. So the Sanskrit says, Tad Akritim. Unbeknownst to the ignorant, Sita Devi, the Lord's eternal consort, the embodiment of all spiritual power, next verse, stayed with Sri Ramachandra, but also in another form, escaped to Kailash. This is something I haven't heard before. So Ramantike Stita Devi, she is always situated with Ram. Namande Samadrishita, but the Manda, those of Manda are covered intelligence, cannot see that. Rupantarena Kailash, but in another form she went to Kailash. But she is Nitya Aviyogini. So Viyogini means to be separated, or the Viyogini Srimati Radha is Radharani separated from Krishna. Sita Devi is described as Nitya Aviyogini, never separated from Sri Ramachandra. So this is very, and then the next verse, Nityam Pashyam Nijam Devim Purna Santosha Sambrita Ramo Nadrishyate Devitya Bhut Sankatavan Iva. So Sri Ramachandra is Purna Santosha Sambrita. He is always completely, fully satisfied, full of bliss. Nityam Pashyam, because he can always see his Devi with him at all times. He simply appeared Sankatavan Iva, like someone in such a predicament of having lost his wife. And so this theme is repeated throughout the narration. When Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya describes how Ramchandra kills Ravan and crowns Vibhishan king, then he makes his way to the Ashoka tree that Sita has been sitting under. And again, Narayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya says, Darshayamasa Janakim. Ramachandra then showed everyone Sita Devi, right? She had been with him the whole time, but then he just lifted the veil and showed them, oh no, yeah, she's here. And then again, later on, when they're back in Ayodhya, again, when there's discussion of him sending Sita to the forest, again, Narayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya says he simply enacted tamonitam tatyaj eva. He acted as if he rejected or banished Sita Devi. However, actually, it is katam bhavet. How is it possible? It is not possible for him to abandon his own Shakti. And in the same way, it is said that when he was doing yajna and Lavankush came, and then there was the whole kind of episode where we hear about Sita going into the earth with the Bhumi Devi. So it is, Narayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya says, it is said that Sita Devi came and disappeared on the sacrificial altar. But this is not, the implication is this is not true. And so he carries on then to say how Ram, he instructed Hanuman in Dharma, Sankhya Yoga, and Hanuman taught the four Kumaras and other rishis. Their teacher was Hanuman. And then when Ramchandra was wishing to leave this realm after his 10,000 years reign, he sent messengers in all directions telling everyone to come. Everyone who wanted liberation, come. All you have to do is make your way to Ayodhya, and I will give you liberation. And then again there, it says very clearly, so this is already after Sita has supposedly disappeared into the earth. But then this description is that Ram, surrounded by countless human beings, vanaras, and countless other creatures, set out in a northerly direction with Sita. So Sita's still there when Ram goes to leave. So Narayaṇa Paṇḍitācārya again and again and again, he establishes this theme of Sita never being separate from Ram. And this is in line with what Mahaprabhu, this was very important to Mahaprabhu also. He met one Brahmin in South India who was just devastated that Sita could have been left in the forest. And so Mahaprabhu, he went to another city, another holy place, and he found a reference in the Matsya Purana, I think it was, and then traveled all the way back, made a copy of the reference, and traveled all the way back to that Brahmin to give it to him, just to pacify him.
Well, actually, he tore that page. That's Chaitanya Bhagavat explained that way.
I hope they have some history of that. Yes, this crazy Bhavuk sannyasi showed up and tore a page out of one of our books.
But I think he also commissioned to others to write a copy, but he took that page to pacify that brother.
He took the original page to show him. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. Okay. Since we're close to wrapping up, the time is almost up. I want to just go to So the third chapter. You can type in. Let's see. Okay, you type in wolves. WLVES. So there's also some interesting pastimes presented in here that we don't hear about anywhere else, because the Madhva tradition relies on the Harivangsha Purana a lot. So Krishna's pastimes are unlimited. What we hear in Bhagavatam is a certain portion of them. We cannot, even all the pastimes that he performed on this earth, on this incarnation, this specific incarnation, what to speak of other incarnations in other universes. We don't have the full report on all his pastimes. So it's talking about how blissfully happy all the gopas were in Mahavan, Gokul. It was Mahavan, the great forest. It was so good for their cows. But Krishna wanted to go to Vrindavan. He needed to perform other pastimes, wanted to perform other pastimes in Vrindavan. So, desiring to go to Vrindavan, he entered the forest of Mahavan one day, and from the pores of his body, created a pack of wolves that were as strong as tigers. Tatra utpata bhiya gopa. In Harivangsha Purana, it's described that these wolves started eating the cows and the calves and just terrorizing Gokul, to the point that the gopas, it was totally unmanageable situation. They had to flee across the Jamuna where the wolves couldn't swim across, and go to Vrindavan, take shelter of Vrindavan. So in this way, Krishna, there's this theme of Krishna manifesting unfavorable elements for certain reasons in his Leela, you know. And there's a little, if you can scroll down, there's a little illustration of this Leela. And there's Krishna manifesting wolves. There's also, in the next chapter, verse 2, he talks about rescuing the gopi girl Nila, vanquishing 7 bulls and rescuing the gopi girl Nila. So in the South Indian traditions, in Tamil Nadu and different places, so Sri Bhu Nila Vishnu is described as having 3 Shaktis. And this Nila is often considered a counterpart of Radha, but also considered identical with the daughter of Nagnajiti, one of Krishna's 8 queens. And it's the same story of vanquishing 7 bulls. In the Harivangsha Purana, it's a little bit different. It's saying that Yashoda had a brother. His daughter was this Nila. Nanda Maharaj and Krishna went to visit them at one point. They lived near Matila and in Nepal. And Nanda Maharaj and Krishna went there to visit them at one point. And Krishna defeated the bulls and married Nila then, that she was actually like his first wife.
Very interesting. When we say Shri Bhu and then it says Leela or Neela, right? Right? We always say Leela or Neela. And we always it's always explained that the Leela or Neela is the Dham. Like in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, it's the Dham,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So in Krishna's past, is there like a connection with Neela and the Dham, or is it just like when it comes in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, then Neela is represented as the Dham or something, or do you have any idea?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. But okay, so in Prabodhananda Saraswati's Kam Gayatri Vyakya, he talks about the la in the beach. He talks about that representing Lila, Lalita, or the Dham. And I've seen this repeatedly, that there's this connection between Lila and the Dham, that the Dham is the Lord's Lila Shakti, is a manifestation of the Lord's Lila Shakti. And later on in this text, Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya, when the topic of Nagnajiti comes up, the mention of Nagnajiti comes up, he says that the Gopi, Kanya, Nila, and Nagnajiti are the same personality. And I think, you know, this actually, what this does is it serves the, so for example, Rupa Goswami described that Chandravali was always Rukmini. She was always the daughter of Bhishmaka. He had simply brought her to Braj, and infiltrated her in that community to be close to Krishna because he knew she was going to marry Krishna. And then he describes, Rupa Goswami describes how all the prominent Ashtasakis are, and Radharani, they become, Radharani becomes Satyabhama, Vishaka becomes Kalindi, Lalita becomes Jambavati. And so there's some precedents or precursors to the development of this idea in the South Indian Vaishnava traditions, in the Madhva tradition, that Nagnajiti was also previously in Gokul or in Braj, and that these queens of Dwarka. So this is another point against there's people who are supposedly on the Madhva side, and they, or even on our Gaudiya side, Gaudiya Vaishnava side, saying that, oh, Madhvacharya didn't understand. I heard one of our own sannyasis in our own temple say this. This is when I really started seriously pursuing this topic of more research into Madhvacharya. He said, oh, Madhvacharya, he did not respect the gopis. He did not know anything about the gopis. He called them Swaravaishya. He's called them celestial prostitutes. And so there is a reference like this in Madhva's writings, but it's wildly taken out of context and misrepresented. So there's actually abundant evidence that the Madhva tradition was very deeply acquainted with. You can see from the description, if you read this Maṇi-mañjarī, you can see that from the description of Krishna's pastimes, they were deeply versed in Krishna's pastimes and in his rasic pastimes, in his pastimes with the gopis. They were not at all ignorant of these things. And I think, and there's evidence that they created the foundation for the Goswamis to build on. Even if you look closely at the writings or the poems of Madhvacharya, you can see specific instances where Rupa Goswami echoes the exact phrasing of Madhvacharya, like Sundari Mandira Govinda Vande. You find that that's from Madhvacharya. You'll find that in Rupa Goswami's poetry. Madhvacharya repeatedly makes these kind of double references where it can either be taken as Krishna or taken as Vishnu. They're like Indira Panga Chanchala means the Mandaro Dhari Bhut, that this Vishnu is lifting Mandara mountain and it is making Indira, Lakshmi, very restless. Her very restless glances. So it sounds more like he's talking about Krishna lifting Govardhan and Radharani, making sure, Govardhan, don't you dare fall on him, right? And so this usage of Indira to refer to Radharani, something also that Rupa Goswami does, not directly, but he uses the word Indira in connection with Radharani to glorify Radharani. Shami, this Tam Indira Vararupa Bharam Bhajami. So there's many things like that.
And there's this Vrindavan Pranam mantra that you translated recently, and Indira is referring to Vrindavan, and Indira was Srimati Radhika, something like that. I forgot. And what you were just quoting, was that the Dwadash Stotra?
Yes, yeah, Dwadash Stotra. And we will be eventually coming out with, there's so much rasicness in the Dwadash Stotra. And that's been discussed by Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj and by other Vaishnavas, and even in the line of Nityananda Prabhu, there is discussion about Madhvacharya being a manjari. He didn't give his name as a manjari. So that will all be discussed eventually. I just want to, because we're getting over the hour point, I just want to talk about one last thing. So towards the end of the 4th chapter, let me just find the verse here. Okay, 37. So, yeah, 37. Yeah.
Oops, wrong one. Okay. Evam Chitra?
Yes. Eva. Okay, I need to. Yeah. Krishna anugyapya pandavan rupain aikena sabhumav ekena sadadam yayo. So, 1 second. I just need to find the commentary bit.
Can I say something really quick?
Of course.
In Udupi, as you come into the temple on the left side, there is, I believe, dioramas or even depicted the whole pastimes of Raja. And I was also, do you remember that? And,
I just last year I don't remember when I went like maybe a decade ago, 20 years ago, but then this recently last year when I went, I saw that there's even a picture of Mirabai.
Yes, yes. And that was a long time for us too. I mean, over 10, oh my God, yeah, long time.
Okay, so it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, but it was there. And the other thing is that in the story of when Kansa intends to kill uh, uh, Maya, she slips out of his hand, and where does she go? And so they told us that there is a hill. We went to the hill where there is Parashuram cave. Have you been there? It's amazing. Above that, on the hill, there's a temple, and the temple is, as you come in, it's Braja. It's there's a connection, very strong connection. She comes there, but the story of pastimes of Braja Lila are depicted also within there.
Yeah, and last year when I went to Madhvacharya's birthplace, all around the inner sanctum, like there's the inner sanctum where Madhvacharya's deity is, but then all around that, in the way South Indian temples are set up, they're all around it on the wall. There was a Mahamantra was written, very fresh paint, beautiful fresh paint. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, all around. The same thing we were in Varkala, the Janardhan Swami temple, and I was surprised. I only went for darshan a few times, but it's a Vishnu deity. But every time I went for darshan, he was dressed as Krishna with 2 arms holding a flute, and everyone coming into the temple was chanting Mahamantra.
Yes.
And Mahaprabhu was there for 2 to 3 days, constantly dancing and chanting Mahamantra. So it's as if Mahaprabhu really did have a lasting impact on the cultures in these places.
Yes. Yeah. The kitchen, sorry. In the birthplace of Madhvacharya, the kitchen's still there. I don't know if you remember, it's like a patio, the annexed kitchen to the whole complex, and there is that huge pot. It's made of granite, and I think he was a toddler when his mother needed to get something from it, and he just with one hand lifted this really heavy granite top, and to the corner of that is the tree, that famous tree, the ashwatam tree, that. When he said he was a child, he said to his father, the story that he was going to defeat the arguments of Sankaracharya. And his father had a stick, and he said, if that's true, then this stick will give fruit, will fructify, and will develop into a tree. So Madhvacharya immediately stuck the stick on the ground, and this tree came out, the fig tree came out.
Yeah, so many beautiful pastimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to like I really like to see also I'd like to work on the Madhva Vijay, like the full pastimes of Madhvacharya also. I guess we should mention about his disappearance. From what I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, Prabhu, but I haven't studied this recently, but it was when he disappeared, it was that like his form was never found. There's no samadhi to him. He was giving a lecture, I believe, and he was covered by flowers. There was a shower of flowers from the sky until they covered his body. And then the disciples went afterwards to try to find he disappeared from within the flowers.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
still, do you remember? Still, there is a room where there is his Vyasa-san, and it's empty. And a disciple decided to make a murti of Madhvacharya and put it there. And so he immediately had a dream with Madhvacharya said, "Just get that stone out of my lap. I'm still there." And it's a beautiful, very simple Vyasa-san, wooden with it's a petal, like a lotus petal. The back of it. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, yes. I think what one devotee, like Madhav Priya Prabhu was telling me, that he is, well, because Hanuman is a Chiranjeevi. So he is Madhva, just in a different form. And so Madhva is here, and he's well, some say he's living in Badrikashram with Vyasadeva. And he has to stay throughout the whole Kali Yuga. He's here supervising everything. So our head Acharya has not gone. He's still present and supervising everything that's going on.
If we were to have that faith that Madhvacharya had to go all out to find Vyasadeva,
yeah,
It's not said Nitya like he's so.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the main things addressed in this text is, after Shankaracharya, his disciples were very violent, and they converted it was actually disciples of Durvasa Muni who were protecting the Vedic teachings from the Buddhists and Mayavadis, but they converted them on threat of death. And so then these Vaishnava sannyasis, they had to live with the Mayavadis, pretend to be Mayavadis. And then when the Mayavadis finally, when they went away, then they escaped to Badrikashram. And there, their Param Guru, I think it's, yes, a grand disciple of Durvasa Rishi, who was living there, teaching the rishis in the Himalayas. He appeared to them, Satya Pragya, and told them that they had to go back and infiltrate the Mayavadi ranks. They had to live among the Mayavadis and find one qualified disciple to pass down the Vaishnava mantra. So for 4 centuries, this went on. So the Sringeri Math in South India, where the Tirthas are, they were infiltrated by the Madhva's predecessors. And so Achyuta Preksha, Madhva's sannyas guru, was actually a Vaishnava. And so there's this precedent set, for Mahaprabhu taking the Mayavad Vish, or Mayavad in the Ekadanda sannyas. This is actually present yourself as a Mayavad sannyasi. Even today, the Mayavad sannyasis are predominant. They have the dominance. They have the political power. They have since the 14th century, since Vidyaranya made the alliance with the Vijayanagar kings, the Ekadandi Mayavadi sannyasis have had this political power in India. And so this is the Madhva tradition. If you're a Madhva sannyasi, you should take Mayavad's Ekadanda sannyas.
Destroy them from within, no?
Yes. This is war. This is for Hanuman and for Bhim. This is war. This is not, time to be, bow your head and be politically correct and not rock the boat. This is war by hook or by crook to undermine those who would dare to challenge the position of his beloved Lord. Okay, so we're 15 minutes over.
Thank you, Prabhu. That was just wonderful. Wonderful.
What was it?
Dissertation.
What was the thing that you're going to show us, Srivastava? Here? Evam Chitrastu.
Okay, so it says that Krishna he whose life and character are most wondrous, blessed the Pandavas, and leaving an invisible form on this earth, departed in another form to his eternal abode of Goloka. So I was absolutely just floored, astounded last night when I started reading the commentary on this verse by Nārāyaṇa Paṇḍitācārya. And he quotes Madhvacharya from Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya. It's kind of a commentary on the Mahabharata. And so he's actually saying that Krishna left, he left one form in the sun, in the orb of the sun. So Krishna is there still in the orb of the sun. So every time you look at the sun, you can think Krishna is there. He's not gone anywhere. So there he is in the Antariksha. That's the Antariksha platform. In another form, he went to be worshipped by Lord Shiva. In another form, he went to Brahmalok. In a fifth form, he went to Shvetadvip. But what's been referred to here, the adrishyata, or the invisible form that is still present on earth, bhuvi, is as the Gopal mantra. So Krishna's invisible form here on this plane is as the Gopal mantra. And this aligns with descriptions of Sri Govinda, that Sri Govinda Dev is the Mona Mudra. That is, Krishna, he has assumed a silent form. So these three deities who are connected to the Gopal mantra, they are Krishna here on this planet, and on this planet in a silent form, just standing there to accept our service. And they're worshipped by this Gopal mantra. So you worship, so it's all together. You worship Krishna through the Gopal mantra. You're directly interacting with him. That is his form on this planet at this time on earth, deeply connected to the earth. Govinda, Gopinath Madan Mohan. And so there was just a few months ago, there was these silly people from Vishwananda's disciples talking about how, even the Gopal mantra, hasn't been passed down from the Madhva Sampradaya. They actually, most of the things they were claiming were completely inaccurate. So this is just one of many pieces of evidence that show how integral and ancient the tradition of the Gopal mantra is in the Madhva Sampradaya. Just wanted to end on that. Thank you for your time and patience, and thank you for celebrating this this very glorious Acharya of our Sampradaya, Śrīmad Ānanda-tirtha Purna Pragya Gauda Purnananda Śrīmad Acharya.
Jai-ho.
Srivas probably doesn't want me to mention. Oh, sorry.
Looking forward to the book, to the booklet.
Yes, I'll put an announcement when I'm finally finished with all the little details. I want it to be as good and as best an edition as it can be. So I just want to take my time and polish it up.
Very good. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Srivas probably doesn't want me to mention this, but I'm gonna anyways. But Srivas was born on Madhvacharya's appearance day, right? And so
Let the cat out of the bag. This is why it's Madhvacharya.
No, but it's like this is
as
we're born to do this. That's what I'm saying.
But as Bhakti Jivas, we things have to be associated with ourselves. We're so self-centered that it's because it has some connection with me on this mundane platform, I'm obsessed with it also. So, yeah.
So everybody, if you want to get, because I see Karuna, my Didi, is asking how can I get this book? I'm just going to mention one more time. Go to bigdrum.us and also Big Drum Publicate. bigdrumpublications.com. And so go to these two websites and sign up, and then you'll get this and many other things when they come out that Srivas translates. bigdrum.us and bigdrumpublications.com. These are the two websites. You can subscribe to both. Then you'll get it when it comes out, and it'll probably come out pretty soon because you're pretty close to the end, right? You're just adding in the footnotes, and then it'll be ready.
Yeah. Yeah, just finding these like revelatory footnotes. I'm like, okay, I have to include this stuff. Wouldn't forgive myself if I can't leave it for another edition.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Would you like to do Jaidwani? We can end with the Jaidwani.
जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधर्विका गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन श्री श्री राधा रमण बिहारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय। जय नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद श्री श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जय नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद श्री श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद श्री श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत त्रिविक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद श्री श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज की जय। लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद श्री श्रीमद भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। सपार्षद जय गुरु शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री रूपानुग गौड़ीय गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री ब्रह्म मध्व गौड़ीय गुरु परंपरा की जय। प्रेम से श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री ईश्वर पुरीपाद की जय। माधवेंद्र पुरीपाद की जय। श्री मध्वा आचार्य की जय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाव महामहोत्सव की जय। श्री उर्पी धाम की जय। श्री गोपाल जी की नर्तक गोपाल जी की जय। जय त्रिभुवन मंगल हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। श्रीताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।
वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Dandavad pranams, Nari Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Shubhananda Prabhu, Srivas Prabhu, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Archana Mataji, Jai Shri Didi, and on YouTube and Facebook, a lot of devotees joined today. Ganga Mataji, Premavati Didi, Hari Priya Didi, Vidyalala Didi, Karuna Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Narayan Didi, Krishna Mai Didi, and Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji. There's a ton of devotees. I only see the names of those who write comments, but Dandavat pranams to all of you and all of devotees watching in the future. And then what's coming up in the calendar? Let's just look really quickly. Whoops. Wait. I'm just putting it here. Okay, so tomorrow is the disappearance day of Ramanujacarya. Day after that is Bhaimi Akadashi and Srila Keshav Bharati's appearance day. And then Varaha Dwadashi. And then Nityananda Trayodashi. Then there's one day, nothing. And then Narottam Das Thakur's appearance day. And also Madhusudan Maharaj and like that. And then just a few days after that is Param Gurudev's appearance day. And then 2 days after that, Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's appearance day, Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj's disappearance day, Purushottam Thakur, Bhakti Bhudev, Shroti Goswami Maharaj. So, and then the day after that, Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj. So it's just like, yeah, every single day except for like just a couple days. Every day is going to be a festival. So yeah. And Srivas also
period.
yes, festival season, Vasant festival season. And if there's anything that you ever want to, like any special things that you have for any of these days that you want to share, also you're always welcome, Srivas. So just let me know, and then cool. Right, Dandavat pranams everybody. Oh, Mangsi Wala Prabhu, Haribol. Yeah, Dandavat pranams everybody. See you all next time. Haribol.